All right, welcome, Matt. I'm starting off with a hot take. I love starting weeks off with a hot take. Okay, I sent you the clip of this Cam, Amine, and Anthony Facundo match, which essentially these guys, I should have the official rankings up, but Facundo is, I think he's #1 in the class of 2021.
Yep.
The best of any weight. I mean, he's really, really good. And Cam Amine, let's see where he's at. Oh, okay.
He's up there.
So they got in the internet ranking, which I checked, they have Kevon Davenport up at #9. So and they're on the same team, so they must flip flop or something. Cam Amine and Kevon Davenport. And Flo, if you're wondering why I don't look at your rankings, because that damn Rocket Mortgage ad pops up every time, and I can't have that on the podcast, so I'm looking at internet. Okay, Matt, here's my hot take. That most people are saying that double overtime non-stall call was like the most insane thing they've ever seen, right?
Okay, so
hold on, wait, you didn't hear my take yet.
No, I want you to create the setting first.
Okay,
like I've watched it, I know exactly what you're talking about, but
okay,
fill in the listeners what we're actually talking about. Okay, so
we're talking about
frame. Yeah.
Cam Amine, Alex Facundo. They go to ultimate tiebreaker, and Cam Amine already has a stall warning against him, and so it's essentially the high school rules are there's the 3 seconds. In the third 30 second, if you ride, you win. If you escape, you win or score a point, right? And that's what it is. And so they're in that third tiebreaker. The score is 1-1. It's at DCC, so DCC, Detroit Catholic Central, and Davison, they're rivals. So it goes into the ultimate tiebreaker. Facundo hits a stand-up right away. And Cam Amine is behind him for about 15 seconds or so, and the ref calls a stalemate. Which
no real mat return. No effort.
Okay, wait. No, there was I'm gonna debate you. I want to debate you. So it's hard for me to almost this is so funny, Matt, because I'm gonna counteract myself because I'm laughing at how the ref called a stalemate on this situation. Okay, but I also want to come at this, and here's what I want to say is, I feel like Cam Amine was trying to, in fact, return him. And Anthony Facundo, if you guys are listening on iTunes and you can't see me, he was doing the kind of block each side, don't let Cam Amine around him, keep himself on his feet, right? And recently, I've been hating this. It's been really annoying me. And because the definition of stalling essentially is you're not progressing towards the score, you're stopping action where it's at, okay? And so the bottom people now in the last 5 years know, hey, if I just get up to my feet and I don't do anything, the top guy is going to be forced to cut me because he'll get called for stalling. So here's my take, Matt. If the bottom guy's not actually trying to escape, are they progressing towards points?
No, I mean it should be. There's got to be a shared responsibility.
Yes,
not only
there has to be.
Not only does the top man have to try and return him to the mat, but the bottom man needs to show that he's attempting to escape. He can't. Essentially, what you're saying,
yes. So what do we do here? So what do we do?
I mean, is that a double stall?
Is it a double stall? Or maybe Matt, this is. I'm like laughing. I'm like
the bottom guy.
No. I'm laughing because this is so insane. But I kind of think that the stalemate was the right call.
What?
No. Okay, listen, Matt, think about this. Say I shoot a single leg on you, and you're trying to scramble, and I'm kind of stuck, and I don't want to do anything because I'm scared if I keep going, you're going to get something on me. And I just sit there. What do they call that?
No, I see your point.
What's it called? It's called the stalemate. So Facundo stands up. He's refusing to actually try to get away from Cam Amine. He's not actually trying to get away. He's just trying to stay on his feet, which is not that's not a wrestling move. That is not a wrestling move.
No, I agree with what you're saying, but in the context of the rules, there hasn't been any clarification. So for them to call that differently, they need to
maybe this
clarify
is not terrible like we initially had thought. Maybe he's a game changer.
All right, I know you think outside the box. This is way outside the box because I wrote you this morning. It's like that ref was on the take. Like, wait, what did you think? I was like, I think he was on the take.
Okay.
Not only that initial stalemate, but then
the second one, he was on the take. Yes. The second one, he's definitely on the take on 100%. But man, I'm thinking about this in my head, Matt. I was thinking about this a whole bunch. If neither guy is neither guy is able to progress to the next thing, it's a stalemate. That is essentially what is happening. That's what's happening.
No, I agree with you, but
wait, let me riddle you this. If the bottom guy, not just Alex Facundo in this situation, but all bottom guys in the future, if they know the ref's not just going to throw a stalling call out there after 5 seconds, they're actually going to have to try to escape. They can't just stand there like a dope and say, okay, if I just stay on my feet for 5 seconds, the ref gives me a stalling, and the top guy's going to let me go. Wouldn't that make for like a more true action?
No, it definitely would.
So maybe this ref is a game changer.
Let's find out. We need to get this guy on the show. I want to hear his thoughts. But for Facundo though, like for Facundo, he was wrestling to how the rules are called right now.
Yes.
Right. So he was doing obviously he was coached. I used to coach.
I hate it, Matt. I hate it. I hate it when my guys do that. If I'm coaching a guy, they do it in the bottom. Because the thing is, if you get your escape, you got your point, you win, right? But there's no guarantee the ref's going to make that call. That cannot be guaranteed. Do you know what I'm saying?
I mean,
so you might as well just try to escape because there's no guarantee. Like in this match, there's no guarantee the ref's making that call. So you might as well just try to do it on your own.
Because. And I'm not going to say this guy's a homer anymore, even though I think,
he probably was, because that second one was just as bad.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing he called right at the end of overtime there was when Amine had a front headlock, and a lot of people were like, it's an escape. And
that's not an escape.
No, it's not an escape. He was controlling him with the front headlock. But yeah, to your point, if I'm Royal Hall at Davison, I'm telling Facundo, I'm like, you chose down, you got to your feet, escape, and the match. Don't wait for the ref, because how many refs, especially in that situation, want to actually end the match on their call? They want the wrestlers to decide the match. So if that's his logic, if he said, hey, you know what, in this situation, you're in double, triple overtime, whatever it was at that point, like, I want the wrestlers to decide the match. Yeah. I didn't, as a ref, I didn't want to determine the call. If he made that statement, I would agree with it. But given the setting, given the wrestlers, it's at DCC. There's a DCC wrestler in the finals. It leads you to believe that there was some bias there. But to your point, I mean, Facundo is to his feet. Get out. Just get out.
Just get out.
But then that second call, holy cow, when he just dropped to the leg and just bellied out and let Facundo just drag him across the mat. That was ridiculous.
That was ridiculous. Okay, so I did find the rankings. Facundo was number 1 at 160, and Amine was number 2 at 152. So that must have bumped him up or something. So either way, good match, insane ending. We don't know for sure if this ref's a homer or a game changer, but I would challenge all of you to not just say, hey, 5 seconds is stalling. And I almost, Matt, I'm starting to hate these top rules because I realize, the dropping down to the leg one made a lot more sense, but in certain situations it doesn't. But the other one that doesn't make sense in some situations is the assassin. They call it a side headlock, right? And I get that people used to stall with that side headlock. Actually, was that one of your wrestlers, that guy at Clarion? Was that when you were coaching there?
He never stalemated from there.
He broke your neck. He had the meanest side headlock on planet Earth. You couldn't get him off you. Yeah. What was his name? What was his name?
James Fleming.
Okay, so
it was called that was called the snapper roll. That was the snapper roll. That was his nickname. James Snapper Fleming. That was a snapper roll. He would snap your neck.
Oh God, the snapper roll. Okay, so anyways, but that side headlock, which should most of the time be called for stalling. Now they're referencing it as anytime you're around the arm and the neck and you're on top. So, for example, if you're on an assassin and you're trying to turn it over and it takes you more than 5 seconds, they're calling you for stalling, which is totally insane. Or, I would encourage you to watch the Mason Paris Trent Hilger match, and obviously I'm kind of biased because I help out at Wisconsin. But Hilger has a leg in. He's got Mason Paris at 90 degrees. He's yanking him back, but he's around his arm and his neck. And they call him for stalling. And it was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. He's almost has this guy turned. How could you even possibly call him for stalling?
See, in that situation, I think it should be similar to the top man doing a mat return. If you're attempting and if you're showing effort to try and turn your opponent, they should stop the 5 count, right?
Yes, they should have some common sense there.
But right now, the way they're calling it, as soon as you attack the side headlock, they immediately go into the count and they just count to 5 and they call it.
No matter what, and that's not how it should be done. There should be some
for sure.
There should be some intuition based in there. Okay, that was a fun discussion. Did you like my hot take or what? That ref was the game changer.
I love it. I love it. Coming in with the real stuff to begin the week, which is good. But yeah, then. This is going to get, obviously my coaching bias is going to jump in. I'm going to want to attack the refs, but this all comes down to, again, a lot of times my frustrations with referees at times is they call a situation instead of understanding the situation.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
100%.
And they're like, well, this is how we were told to call this move. I'm like, well, you need to understand wrestling, because if in the Hilger Paris situation, he's obviously trying to turn him. Yeah. He's sucking him back. He's trying to roll him through. Understand he's wrestling through that situation. Yes. He's not hanging on. Yeah. So
and that's, honestly, if you had, and I think referees to a certain extent, they like the more rules that are. So I'll say the average referees, not the great referees. There are some really good ones who just nail it every time. But the average referees, they kind of like the rules because it takes the onus off of them. Because they can say, hey, this is a rule. This is how I'm supposed to call it, as opposed to, hey, this is how I see it. I see this man as stalling right now. You know what I'm saying? It's not, which I guess if, at least we know what we're getting a little bit. I think that's a double-edged sword. On the one side, you know what you're getting. On the other side, you're going to get some misapplications sometimes, as opposed to someone just watching it and seeing the flow of the match. What's worse than when you see one guy attack for 3 minutes and he attacks and he attacks and he attacks and they start the second period and he's on top and then he stays on the feet for 5 seconds and he gets a stall call. It's like, how is he the one that has the stall warning when he was so much more aggressive in the first period? So, it is a double-edged sword there.
And I guess whenever, that's sports. There's always a referee. There's an umpire. There's someone officiating the competition. So whenever you have someone imparting, a third party,
it's for sure. So We'll just leave it at that. We don't need to go any deeper into that. I thought that with the Amine Facundo discussion, that was fun. Okay, so let's go. And we mentioned this guy. Let's go right into him and all the implications this has, or implications that we thought it had. Mason Paris. We both. I didn't see the full match. You and I both watched that. I know it was like a 4-minute clip. It was a good portion of the match. He kind of beat up on Amardezi, didn't he?
Making your official college debut against the number 1 guy in the country, taking him down 5 times, getting riding time. That's a pretty big statement.
That's a pretty big statement. And
and I guess we should
Mardezi's first match back.
Yeah. There's a lot of things to discuss here.
A lot.
When I was looking at it, one, there's some backstory here that made it look like a little bigger than it really was, because Mason Paris has had some uneven results this year.
Yeah.
He's had some decent wins, but he's also had some really bad losses as well. And so,
which one would you say? He lost to Cassiope again, didn't he?
He did lose to Cassiope. I need to look up.
I'm looking up his Midlands right now. He lost the Stencil kid from
Central Michigan. He's not bad.
That kid's tough. Yeah. He had some. We were talking about how fast he had those pins at the Midlands. I remember that.
Yep.
Yeah, so he's had some uneven results, but obviously he beat Hilger. Hilger was number 8 at the time, so that's a really good win. He's beat Desi now, and with this, really for what it's worth, the freshmen are injecting life into this heavyweight weight class. Going into this year, we thought this heavyweight class it's a really bad weight class. And
yeah, I mean, it looked like it was going to be a rebuilding weight class. It's been so strong for the last 5 or 6 years with not just 1 or 2, but like 6 or 7 really good quality heavyweights. We thought, with all of the graduations in the last couple of years of Snyder and Gwizdowski and all these other guys, you thought this was going to be a rebuilding year. But these young guys are jumping in, making a statement and saying, they're ready to play with the big boys right away.
We got Stevenson ranked number 1. He should be 1. He's not 1 yet. Mason Paris is going to be a top 10 guy. Trent Hilger's a top 10 guy. Elam out of Missouri was top 10 for a minute. Obviously, Cassiope's been having a good amount of success to this point. Yeah, so Mason Paris, he got pinned by Stencil at the Midlands, and he lost to Conan Jennings in the semis after beating Trent Hilger in a close match in the quarters. So I guess what I was going to get into, though, Matt, was that I thought this meant that they were, Michigan was going to go all in and pull all of their red shirts, and shoot for a top 5 or top 4 podium finish, which I think had they had the ideal lineup, it's possible. But then we see, so for me that means Pantaleo down at 49 where he wrestled at Midlands, and Luan comes in at 57. But then the very next day, we see Pantaleo's back up at 157, and I can't find video from this match, but from what all accounts, he looks pretty bad, losing to Christian Pagdalau, who's not ranked that high, and then him back at 57. I think that means they are not pulling Luan's red shirt.
So a couple things I would say to that. One, I did want to kind of go back to the Desi Mason Harris match real quick.
Yeah.
There's a thought, and just from experiencing this a number of times in my career as a coach, I've got what are your thoughts about the 6th year and the viability? I know there's
what
rules.
What do you mean? The injury? You mean?
Yeah, because Desi's in his 6th year.
He's old, man. He's so old.
Yeah, and there are obviously to get a 6th year, you get granted by the NCAA. But for me, I know the rules are there; they're in place. You can get your 6th year. I've never seen a lot of guys have a lot of success in that 6th year. I just think.
Well, you threw that at me quick there, so I don't have very much time.
I'll keep talking a little bit, and you can maybe form your thoughts. I just think college wrestling is so brutal and so taxing, and the way these guys train in college is not much different, but it's significantly different than the senior level guys, because the senior level guys, you're kind of competing once every 3 months, every 2 or 3 months, right? Where college guys for 5 straight years, 4 or 5 and possibly 6 straight years, you're practicing at a high level every day. You're competing multiple times over the course of a 4 or 5 month period. And so I think the accumulation of that wear and tear, especially as you get older, not that these guys are old,
No, they're definitely older though. I agree with what you're saying.
But they're older. And I just think the wear and tear that you accumulate, the grind of competing week in and week out over the course of 4 or 5 years, to add another year into that. I think at least in my personal opinion, I haven't seen a lot of guys benefit from the 6th year. It just seems like they're,
Well, I mean, I guess, Matt, if you're saying that they are getting a 6th year, I guess one of the things that implicitly implies is that one of those things where I said the same word twice. One of the things that implies is that they've already had a major injury, right? So the other thing on top of what you're saying is they're probably not, even if you had a show, it's something serious, right? It's a back, it's a neck, it's a labrum, it's an ACL. You're probably not the same person you were before the injury. So I think that.
So in actuality, Ben, it's actually for you to get a 6th year, you actually have to be able to document and prove that you've lost 2 entire years to injury. So it's not just 1 year, it's multiple years that you've lost. So that's even, more, added into the situation that's factoring in that, is it really the best thing to have a 6th year when you've sustained a major injury? It's not like, oh, I'm taking a medical year because I got a high ankle sprain, or I get a medical year because I dislocated my finger. To your point,
major.
Most times it's you blew a knee out, you tore your labrum, you did something significant where you probably had to have surgery.
Yeah. So what I would say, Matt, is that so that's a huge part of it, right? They've already been seriously injured once, maybe twice. But I would say, what a lot of and this is something I would do, and this is something I think you have more inside knowledge at Penn State, and I think they're doing really well. But I think by the time those guys get older, and this is something I've done in my fight career, is that you got to know how to pull yourself back. You got to realize I'm not 19 years old anymore. I can't go balls to the wall every single day. And so obviously now as an adult, I'm the one running my fight career. So I determine that. But college coaches should realize that about athletes. I could tell you for my brother, Max, he had a serious back injury, and Coach Smith was smart enough to say it, and Max kind of proposed this to him. But hey, Coach Smith, I can't practice like the rest of the team. If I do that, I won't be able to compete. He said, but I could do a little bit less, a little bit smarter. And so is there a way we can work out a schedule so that I can wrestle my senior year and be healthy and be able to compete? And they worked it out, and it worked really well. And he ended up winning a national title that year. And so I think that's something college coaches have to do by the time those guys are. And honestly, Matt, if I'm a college coach, I'm probably doing this with a lot of my juniors and seniors. Hopefully they're already tough enough. Hopefully I've grinded them enough where I can afford to give them some days off. And for some kids who are super A-type personality, not even afford to give them, force them to take some days off that I know that they need for their bodies.
Right.
And so I think
go
ahead.
I completely agree. And this is something that I always did with my athletes. The further they got along in their career, the more that I wanted them to collaborate with me about how we laid out their, competition and their training schedule, because they've invested their time. They've taken ownership of their career. So they're more mature. They have more knowledge. They've been through the fire. They've got that experience. And so I think the older you get, the first couple of years, I always said, hey, we're going to show you what it takes to really be successful at this level. And after that first couple of years, we should be able to have more in-depth dialogue about what's going on with your body, what's going on with your training, what's going on with your competition. And by the time, that they get to their 5th year, a lot of the decisions I would leave up to my athletes. I would say, hey, this is my thoughts about where you would have your best success.
Yeah.
This is the weight class where I think you should be. But hey, you've earned the right. You've earned the right, being a 5th-year senior, to make the choice of where you want to go, because you've invested the time, you've contributed significantly to the program. So I'm going to give it up to you. I may not fully agree, but you've earned that right. And I think with your brother's a prime example of that.
I mean, Oregon State has to be at least a little bit with Amar Desi, because he hasn't competed. This is his first competition, and we're in January. And obviously, he wrestled for Canada at the World Championships, and that was in October. So I mean, maybe it was giving us some off there. So I can't speak to his specific situation. I can't speak to how they're training him up there. But yeah, you know what? When you said that, Matt, I'm pretty good at recalling instances, and I can't really. There's no 6 years that just come to my head that I'm saying, oh my God, this guy had such a great 6 year. It just doesn't pop up. So maybe I'd have to do more research. Maybe we have to ask Jason Bryant. I know he's got he's got all the data, but it seems like that an intuition by you is pretty correct.
Yeah, I mean, the one situation that turned out to be a positive in my career was James Fleming, or not James Fleming, but James English from Penn State. He's actually the reason why Penn State won the national title. He ended up getting, I believe, 7th or 8th his 6th year. And
I didn't even know that was his 6th year. I couldn't have told you that.
It was his 6th year. And James's neck was so bad that the entire coaching staff was in agreement. We said, James, you've sacrificed literally your body for this program. You've sacrificed your quality of life moving ahead the next 20, 30 years. Like, we want you to stop wrestling. We all told him that. They're like, we love the kid. The kid's just an amazing kid. Did everything right, trained right. And he's a kid that you wanted it so bad for him. And he's like, I want to come back. And we were like, I know you want to come back, but this isn't the best thing for you. Like, we're talking about your neck here, your neck and your back. Like, you can walk around on a hobbled knee, right? Or a bad shoulder. But when you're talking about your back and neck, that just completely affects your entire body.
Everything.
And your quality of life. And we're like, James, I know you're feeling it now, but listen to us. We're feeling these things 10, 15, 20 years later. Like, I don't know if you really want to feel these things. And he said, no, I want to come back. I want to come back. And so in that situation, we were like, hey, you've earned the right. We've done our due diligence. We've cautioned you against this. We've recommended you not do this. But if you want to do it, one, to your point of what you did with your brother, we've got to do this very intelligently, very strategically. We probably can't wrestle you every single match. And so they held him out. They exercised caution. And sure enough, James became an All-American, and it was the tipping point. I mean, there's many reasons you can contribute to a team title, but if they didn't have him in the lineup, they wouldn't have won a national title. So that was a one positive story from his 6th year. I do have some negative ones that I could share, but he seems to be the outlier in my career, looking back and saying, hey, that's a situation that worked out well in the 6th year.
Penn State might have a few more 6 years next year, so it'll be interesting to see how those turn out.
Yeah,
they're going to have, I mean, Neville's and Kassar are both applying for 6 years, so we'll see how those turn out. Let's I mean, that was, we didn't even anticipate talking about that. That was interesting to talk about. But no, let's move on. I want to talk more about this Michigan team, because they're a really good team. But they swerved us, because I thought when they pulled Paris, they were going to pull Will Lewan also. And then Pantaleo bumps back up to 157. So what do you – I mean, maybe it's just easy, right, Matt? Maybe it's Pantaleo thought he could go to 49 because he'd been sick the last month. He went down there. He thought, oh, that sucks. I'm going back up. I mean, is that – you think it's that simple?
It could be that simple. I mean, the only other thing that I would like to know, I would like to see the weigh-in sheet to see where Pantaleo actually weighed in at. He could have weighed in at like probably 152, and with his descent plan, still get down to 149.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I could think of outside of that.
I mean, they're 149, who is Malik Amine, and he's not bad. He actually just beat Josh Maruka, who's ranked number 11. So it's not like their option at 149 is terrible to go Malik Amine, and that he's not a world beater. He hasn't been proven to be a regular top 10 guy or anything, but he's not bad. And then you go Pantaleo at 57. I think maybe they just thought Pantaleo had an opportunity to win it at 149. And then, I
mean, the only thing that I found interesting is that a week ago, Pantaleo was talking about he's had mono or he's been sick and this and that. And like, you don't just snap your fingers or pop a pill and recover from mono. I mean, that kind of takes its time. So I found it interesting that, on the heels of him talking about having mono, that he turns around the next week and wrestles, against Oregon State and Arizona State.
Yeah, wrestled both dual. I mean, I don't know what to make of this. And so obviously we don't have the weight sheet. I mean, the other thing about Will Lewan is he's had some good wins. His main good wins are over his teammate Alec Pantaleo. Those are his main ones. But he lost to Quincy Monday, who he's ranked. He's not even ranked in here. And so it's not like you're getting a guaranteed AA or high placer out of that weight. So, you're almost better with Pantaleo at 57 and Malik Amine at 49. And then saving Will Lewan for next year. But I think this Michigan team and we had another disappointing performance. And again, we had on a video of it. We had Logan Massa loses 6-2 to Josh Shields, who Josh Shields is a good guy. But, Matt, honestly, if we're going 2 years ago, if we're going back to their freshman years, and this is like perception changes a lot. Perception changes a lot. If you're going 2 years ago and you're, say, in the middle of January, and I ask you, Matt, who's more likely to be a 4-time champion, Logan Massa or Vincenzo Joseph, because one of them will be pushing for it? I think there's a good chance you say Logan Massa.
I would have for sure said Massa.
I mean, he was on fire his freshman year. And so now you're going 2 years later, and it's like, he's good, but he's losing to Isaiah White. He's losing to Josh Shields. I mean, he's just not, and this is one of those, maybe it's injuries, maybe it's something else, but he's almost had a regression in the last 2 years.
And I don't want to coin this phrase, but we've talked about this guy so much, but it's almost like the K Brock effect.
Yeah,
again, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, another guy that you look at him, and when he's on, he's as good as anybody. Yeah. When Logan Massa is on, I would flip a coin between him and Joseph.
They had a really good match at the Big Tens last year.
Yeah. But then, and this is to, discount Shields. I mean, Shields is the number 5 guy in the country. So it's not like he's bad. He's really, really good. But from the best versions that we've seen of Logan Massa and the best versions that we've seen of Josh Shields, I would say I would take Massa every single time. I don't care what the rankings say.
Yeah.
Basically what my eye test is showing me and is like Logan Massa should win this match. But he's shown inconsistencies, and to your point, it could be injuries.
Yeah, and so just to remind people, I went to his roster. I went to the roster just so I could remind people. But Logan Massa's only loss during his redshirt year was to Alex Dieringer, who's Hodge winner, all-time great. He wins right off the bat. His freshman year, he beats number 2 Isaac Jordan and wins to Las Vegas. He had bonus points in 22 of his 32 wins. He was the national leader with 12 tech falls. I mean, this guy was on fire. He took 3rd place at the NCAAs, beating Isaac Jordan again 11-2. His only loss, I think he lost at the NCAAs. He lost to Vincenzo Joseph in the semis. I mean, yeah, this is a guy that was on fire, and now it's. He's somewhere middle tier All-American. I mean, is that
so? Yeah, I mean, I would think. I mean, that tells me that something has to be off. I don't know physically or mentally or what, but it does lead you to say there's got to be something there, because we know the wrestling abilities there. That's without question.
Yeah, without question, absolutely.
So I don't know, but how about this one? If you would have given Zeke Jones this scenario before the match, okay, hey, Zeke, you're starting at 157. You're going to win the first four individual matchups, beating Michigan's
3 hammers.
Number six, and number 3 ranked guys back to back to back. And then they followed that up with a win at 184. If you were Zeke Jones and you pose that question to him, he's like, hey, Zeke, do you feel pretty good about your chances to win this dual meet if you sweep the first 4 and beat arguably their 3 best guys in their lineup, or 3 out of their best 4 guys in their lineup?
3 of the best 4. It's fair. Yeah, I think you feel great. I think you feel great because I think that last one you're counting on Maruka to win, and I think they're probably thinking that maybe Courtney can get in there and beat Matten, or maybe they can get a win at 197 because obviously Michigan's guy there is not very good, and they can sneak it out. But yeah, I think if you think you're winning those first 3, you're feeling pretty good about it. But yeah, Malik Amine with the upset over Josh Maruka, and then Stephen Mitchell, Tech Falls, number 20 Josiah Klein. So. Again, what the match I really want to see from that? I wanted to see what Valencia versus Amine looked like. And hey, so if we couldn't find any tape, so if you can find the tape, go ahead and send it to us.
Because it looked on the surface, I didn't even see outside of, you can't really, glean much from just a sports information release, but a 6-4 match looks yeah, I would love to see that match because that's kind of the one guy out there that you're wondering with Miles Amine. Is he the one guy that potentially could knock off Valencia or Hall?
I feel like,
right?
yes. I feel like, because he beat Daniel Lewis. As good as Daniel Lewis is, Miles Amine's the one that beat Daniel Lewis. And so now, the other one, which obviously we talked about, Fat Joe Smith, he had a great match against Mark Hall. So he's the other one now that we have to throw in this mix somewhere. But I guess I think Michigan current lineup, if we go Matt and Mitchik, Storr, Amine, Pantaleo, Massa, Amine, they actually have a different than 84. Oh my gosh, what's his name, Matt? It's the kid from Michigan, Jelani Embry. He's their 84. Strigo, Paris. I think that's a team that could possibly find themselves on the podium if they wrestle well. And, this is highly contingent. Not only has Massa been up and down, Pantaleo's been very up and down. Steven Mitchik at times has been up and down. So, it's not like you can say, hey, I know these are top 4 guys no matter what, because that's just not the case.
And that would be for me, my one big concern with Michigan is that whoever the 4 teams that get a trophy this year, I would say 3 out of the 4, they almost all have to wrestle up to their ranking or wrestle up to their seed, right? You almost have to count on that. Like for Michigan to do it, they need Massa to come through. They need Pateo.
Well, so what you're saying, Penn State's a guarantee, obviously. That's what you're saying?
I don't want to say that, but
they're a guarantee. If Penn State doesn't win a trophy this year, that is like the most insane. They had to have like an earthquake hit Happy Valley or something.
Yeah, but for the other 3 teams that come in and get it, every one of those teams, and I think there's probably 4 or 5, 6 teams that probably feel they have a good shot at getting a trophy. I bet all 6 of those teams said, if we're going to do it, if we're going to get a trophy, all of our guys have to wrestle to their seed. We can't, like if Mitchik, if Misek doesn't place in the top 4, that's a huge blow to Michigan.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, honestly, when I'm looking at these teams, and I know we're going to talk about the Ohio State North Carolina State duel. Ohio State, I feel like has the most for sure. Like if you told me Micah, Miles, or Colin Moore placed outside the top 4, and we'll throw Joey McKinnon in there also. If you say any one of those 4 placed outside the top 4, I'm pretty surprised. Like those guys are almost, in my opinion, locks to the top 4.
Because they've shown
they're just consistent. They compete consistently. They don't have these weird, stupid losses that some of these other guys do. In Iowa, I think you're saying Spencer Lee's in the finals, but I think with a lot of to your point, a lot of this, if you told me DeSanto, Murin, Patrick Lugo, and Caleb Young didn't even All-American, I'm not really that surprised. I'm not.
No.
And so I think, and then like we talked about Michigan's up and downs. Oklahoma State has the same thing. I mean, if you told me Cade Brock took 3rd, I'm not super shocked. If you told me Cade Brock did an All-American, I'm also not super shocked. And
that's where I'm thinking.
Same thing with Chandler Rogers.
Right.
So yeah,
that's where I'm thinking like the Missouris and the Cornells and the NC States. They've got to be feeling like, hey, we're still in this. We're in trophy contention for sure. So there's still a lot of time on the clock. We still have to make some improvements. But for those other, fringe teams that are kind of in the discussion, they've got to be feeling pretty good. Like we're still we're in the hunt for a trophy.
Yeah. So sure. I feel like Penn State obviously is way out there. I feel like Ohio State is kind of like, if Iowa, if everything goes right for Iowa, Iowa could beat Ohio State, but there's a lot more certainty with the Ohio State lineup. And then below that, I feel like, man, these teams are riding some ups and some downs, and you don't necessarily know what you're going to get out of them for sure.
And Ohio State, they kind of, to your point, they kind of proved that against NC State last night.
Yeah, well, let's save that. We only got a couple minutes left, and we might spend a whole episode because that was a really good duel. I thought, really disappointing ending with the way Tariq Wilson got hurt, so we didn't really know what happened there. Well, let's talk about did you get to watch Berger versus Deacon? Because I think that was the only interesting match for me. The only interesting match of the Nebraska versus Northwestern duel.
I did. Really good match. Really good match.
So I just felt like Deacon wasn't being aggressive. I mean, is that what you felt like? Berger was just so much quicker to the attack, and Deacon's like a good, not great scrambler. Like he's good enough to stop most of the scores, but when Berger kept attacking, you kind of felt like he's going to get one. Eventually, he's going to get one of these.
I kind of felt the same way. I kind of felt like Deacon later in the match, after the first period. That first period, I really liked his hand fight. He's got a really physical, very aggressive left-handed collar tie that I like when he's putting his hands on and he's moving the guys. It really opens the guys up and frees his leg attacks up. I thought in the second and third period, he kind of went away from the physicality in that left-handed collar tie and just kind of was just diving in instead of taking the extra effort to really move Berger out of position and try and create an opening. And I thought Berger was a little bit more strategic. I didn't think he had a ton of offensive output, but the times that he pulled the trigger, he created some really good opportunities.
Yeah, and Berger, man, we've been talking about ups and downs all freaking show. Berger, that's a man that's up and down. I mean, I remember how good he looked against Kemmer's sophomore year, and his junior year was kind of and this year he's got the win over Hidlay. So this year he's showing a pretty good performance. And I really do think that 157 weight class, when you look at it, and obviously we also got to watch Hidlay versus Keyshawn yesterday. Larry Early lost to someone who I had to Google who he was. I didn't even know. But I really think finding the 2-3 seed in that bracket is so important. And, Pentelio losing to Pegdilau, these guys are hurting themselves so bad because whoever gets that 2-3 side at least has a chance to make the finals. Otherwise, you're on Nolf's side, and you don't want to be on Nolf's side. I'd almost rather take a 6-7 than a 4-5 in that bracket.
No, without a doubt. So it's going to be imperative that a lot of these guys go on some good runs over the next 2 months and have a good conference championship, because a lot of those guys at 57, I wouldn't say the results are uneven, but they're all kind of beating each other. Like all the good guys are kind of.
No, that's fair. They're all beating each other.
I was the guy a week ago after Midlands and after Cliff Keen thinking like Deacon is going to be the guy in the finals. Yeah. That after Midlands and the way he's wrestled so far this season, I'm like Deacon's going to be the guy.
I'm going to find you who Larry Early lost to someone who I'm like, I genuinely don't even know who this is. Let me find it.
Or then even like Pentaleo early on, like the way he battled Nolf, we're like, hey, Pentaleo is probably the guy. And then he's had some uneven results. And so it'll be interesting.
Larry Early lost to Logan Parks from Central Michigan. I know you don't know who that is.
I'm not. I don't.
I knew it. So this 57 behind Nolf, it's a freaking crapshoot. I mean, that's where like Caleb Young, it's like, if you told me he did an All-American, I'm not really that surprised. If you told me somehow he got the 7th seed and made the finals, I'm pretty surprised, but I don't think it's out of the question at all. So this bracket's super interesting beyond Jason Nolf.
No, I'm with you. It'll be interesting to see how things play out there over the next 2 months.
All right, Matt, let's call it a day. Let's say next time I'm pumped to talk about this Ohio State, NC State. I got to watch this on it was on ESPN too. That was fun. We have a few. I think that'll take us a while with a few of the results, and then Matt, you're gonna miss it because you're gonna be in China. But we have a whole bunch of really, really, really good matches this weekend. Which I guess this would be the first like full kickoff of Big Ten weekend where there's matches kind of everywhere. Obviously, there's a few last weekend, but this is the first really big one.
Yeah, from here on out, I mean, there's going to be a ton of fun stuff to talk about. So I'm looking forward to it. looking forward to getting back from China, getting back on track with you. But we got one more episode to shoot before I got to take off. A lot of good stuff to talk about with Ohio State, NC State.
All right, Matt, you have a great day, and that was a lot of fun.
Yep. We'll see you, Ben.